So
yeah, he was like
26.
What, you met? Wait, did you guys meet when you were 18 though?
Yeah, I was 18.
You were 18 when you met.
Yes.
Okay. Huh. And then hey, 18. Okay, and then how soon into the relationship were you guys, I guess, engaging in orgies or whatever?
That started in like 2020, so it's in its long-term scheme of things, it's relatively recent for us.
So you guys were monogamous for the first, essentially 13 years of your relationship. Yes. No cheating?
No.
No opening of,
no.
Okay. And then who brought to who that you guys wanted to, I guess, open things up?
I think it was like a really slow conversation. We both were kind of into the idea that just like evolved over time, and ultimately we both decided we wanted to have a threesome with a girl, but didn't really know where to start. So it was a lot of talk for a long time. So I guess the idea started more maybe like 2017. So like 3 years before we ever actually acted on anything. And then COVID hit, and we're like, F it, let's hit Tinder, world's ending, let's just do it.
How long have you been doing sex work?
Since 2021, so you know, like a year and a half.
So no like stripping before that or anything like that. Okay, so you went pretty much right into the OF, is that correct?
Yeah.
Any sort of like sugar daddy stuff or anything?
No.
No. Okay. All right. But you've never done a scene with another man absent your husband.
Correct.
Okay.
Do I want
not hubby material?
No. I feel like he still has a lot to learn.
Just banging material.
And just banging material. He's really good at sex. That's all I'm saying.
Damien, in the audio mixer, scroll it over and enable the Twitch alerts. I think that's. Or wait. Hold on. Hey, chat. Tell us if you get. Tell us if you get echo on this.
Metro Matt donated $200. Men, delete your of accounts. Let's send the simp demic. We control the power to return the world to a functioning order. This needs to be pushed more.
Can I say something to that?
Sure.
You donated $200 just to say that, and like you could get so much for $200 on OF, or you could just not spend the $200. So I'm just saying.
She's like, subscribe.
I'm saying 200 is a lot just to say that.
I mean, he had a he had a windfall recently with Doge and Pepe and Shiba Inu. Andrew, it seems like you might have a response here. Thank you, Metro Matt, by the way.
Yeah, why would he want to go and subscribe to nasty on OnlyFans? Like, why would he want to do that?
Rogue.
That's super gross.
Or he could just not. I mean, I wasn't saying. Actually, I did say that, I guess, but I wasn't saying like it's this or this. But like $200 to say something is crazy.
Yeah, $200 to support the type of content that you like to support, where people can have conversations from all over the world. It's very interesting. They enjoy that. But then to kind of immediately assault the value structure by saying, "Oh no, you should go watch," that just seems kind of counterintuitive, right?
No, you're right. You're right. Yeah.
That's it. That's all you guys got.
That's all I got. If that's how, yeah. You can spend your money however you want, whether it be OnlyFans or.
Well, it seems like a lot of people spend a lot of money on OnlyFans. Like, and all that is $1 billion industry. So, I mean, it seems like a lot of people like it. If there wasn't a demand for it, it wouldn't be around.
Millions and millions. It's true.
Who here does OF?
I'm not sure that it's a great statement, though, to say that, well, because lots and lots of people do bad things, and that means that we should continue to perpetuate bad things.
What would you constitute as something that's bad, though?
Well, here, let's just see if we can't break it down. So we'll start with me, right? So I smoke cigarettes. I'd say that that's probably bad. For instance, if my kid came to me and said, "Hey, Dad, can I have a smoke?" I'd be like, no, you can't have a smoke, okay? Smoking's bad. I probably shouldn't smoke, right? I'm trying to quit, that kind of thing. So let me just ask you, if your, 18-year-old daughter came to you and said, "Hey, Mom, I'm thinking about being on the internet," would you be like, "Oh, okay, sounds good"?
I'd be like, it paid my way through college.
So yes, you would.
Well, I do think that smoking has like an actual physical harm on your body. I do it too, so like whatever. But like that has an actual. I mean, I'm not saying that sex work can't have a physical harm on your body, because it can. But I wouldn't tell any of my children to do any of that stuff. Just saying, I'd let them just do what they want. If they came to me at 18 and said, "Hey, Mom, I want to join OnlyFans," I would say, you know what, here's a list of reasons why, it might not be the best idea. Here's a list of reasons why I found it, like why I liked it and did it for this long. And I let them make their own decision because they're 18.
I would agree with that.
Yeah, I know that they can make their own decision. Nobody's saying that they can't do that. Adults can make their own decisions. The question is, you as the advisor, right? So me as the advisor in the advisor role, I can point to behavior I have that's probably not pristine and say, I would advise you not to do that. It's probably not the best idea. Can't stop you from doing it, but I would advise you against it. Would you advise your daughter? Would you advise your daughter against it?
I wouldn't advise her against or to do it. I would just say, here's my experience. Take what you will. Like, I've had good and bad experiences. If this is what you would like your experience to be, then like you're 18, you're of age, make your own decisions. I'll just tell her what my experience is.
I feel like OnlyFans is OnlyFans.
Yeah, but she's looking for advice.
Scooting to the table.
She's like, Mom, I'm conflicted. What should I do?
I feel like if you're conflicted, you shouldn't do it.
I'd say write about it, go to therapy, talk to somebody about it. They're talking to me.
You, you're a mom.
She's talking to me, and I'd say, hey, I told you what I'd say to her.
I would say,
you're just going to give her a neutral take?
I would say if you're conflicted, don't do it.
She's an adult.
Because
can make her own decision.
It is not something that anybody should just jump into lightly.
I agree.
But however, it's not something that's causing physical harm.
Metro Matt donated $200. Share 2, you literally sell yourself for a McDonald's
sometimes
cheeseburger.
Less, so
sit down.
Tune in.
All right. Thank you, Metro Matt.
Why is the standard here this idea of only physical harm, right? Nobody's saying that this causes direct physical harm, though I'd argue it can. But rather, there's no society that's made better anywhere on planet Earth with the usage of rampant prostitution. There's not a single society you can point to that's made better because of that. And there's never going to be one that you can point to that's made better because of that.
I mean,
and so if we collectively are making decisions as a society for what we want to see in it, I think that it's pretty obvious that because of the overwhelming amount of trafficking, human trafficking that comes with sex work, it's overwhelming, the evidence on behalf of that. And this is only in countries which legalize it. It's pretty obvious that it's something that collectively people should be pushing back against, right?
I would argue that decriminalizing things helps with that. Like, just for an example, the weed industry, nobody buys weed from drug dealers anymore. They go to the store, it's regulated, it's safer, and then just buying it off the street.
But the places that have criminalized have less human trafficking than the places that have legalized prostitution.
But do they have statistics on and if rates increased?
Oh my God, bro. You guys do not listen
Sorry.
to the pre-show information. Holy shit.
Yeah, don't just use SA, please. It just stands for sexual. Just use SA instead. It's because we're on YouTube. We want to comply with the terms of service. So.
Oh yeah, that's all I had to say.
All right, I'm just moving onwards then. Katerina, you're below the threshold, but you got to DM out whatever.
Whatever fan donated $200. Our F-Buddy is a great lay but not husband material, and guys are totally cool with that. But women get mad when we say 304s are not wife material and don't deserve long-term commitment.
What's 304s?
Hoes.
Oh.
I don't get mad when people say that. If that's what
Who's this directed to?
To me.
To you?
Yeah.
Do you have a response? Or?
I don't know. I'm reading. I'm trying to process
I think
y'all can talk.
I think the person who has the best answer for this would be Madison, because she's been in the longest relationship at this table, and she does OnlyFans. What do you feel like this has changed your relationship at all with your husband?
It has made it better. It's enhanced it. We were exploring new things, and it's been a shit ton of fun. And I challenge Andrew on the fact that sex work is inherently bad. I agree. It certainly can be bad. Human trafficking is horrible, and certain people maybe are very desperate and do it for the wrong reasons and do put themselves in harm's way, but that doesn't mean that's how everybody's going about doing it, and that is an all-encompassing truth for all sex work.
Let me show you how divisive this is. I'll explain. So when you say things like, when you're talking about harm, people tend to only look at harm from their own personal metric of what they think would or wouldn't be harmful. They never really externalize how things that they do affect other people. So for instance, I find it harmful that you call yourself married. That's not a marriage. That's an abomination. From my perspective, a total abomination. It's not a marriage. It's a joke, right? But think about this. You might not, like, from your perspective, you think, that's really harsh, or that's mean, or that's this, or that's that. But isn't it harmful to the value structure of the millions of men who think like me that you would cheapen and destroy the thing that we sanctify that much by calling it marriage? Like, and you just don't care, right? Because from your perspective, well, I'm not touching you. I'm not touching you. It's similar to when you OF girls will wear crosses inside of your shoots. And it's like, okay, well, let's just take the very symbol of this entire religion and pervert it to the maximum extent, right? And we're supposed to just be like, oh, well, that's okay. We're just pushovers and doormats, right? It's like, so anytime you're talking about harm, you seem to only internalize it. You never extend it out to how it actually does affect other people.
Well, I'm not a Bible thumper, so I don't believe in things being all holy and sacred.
Yeah, I know. See what I mean? You're internalizing
it's
harm.
A completely...
You only look at it from the prism of self.
Okay, now you're interrupting me. I was in the middle of my argument.
Yeah,
Thank
I'm
you.
just explaining real quick, though, that's going to my point. That's all. But go ahead.
Marriage can mean a lot of different things to different people, and we stood in front of our family and friends and committed our lives to each other, and we get to pick the terms on how that turns out. And if we're both consenting adults and are completely happy with it, more power to us. I don't need God or whoever you believe in to agree with that, because to me that means nothing.
Yeah, but
and I don't wear a cross in my OnlyFans.
You see how this makes my point for me, that when you think about things like harm or the principle of what you're doing in society, you think of it from the position of yourself, only from the position of you. Well, I'm not hurting anybody. I'm not doing anything wrong. We're two consenting adults. We should be able to do whatever we want. It's like, okay, but what about the greater duties that happen inside of society, or forming societies towards things that we want to see for future generations, which we do have a duty for. We do have a duty to do this. So the idea here is like, sure, you can say whatever you want. You can say this is a legitimate marriage. This is a thing which is true and proper, and it can mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people. It's like, that's fine, but let's not pretend that it's not a complete and total assault on the values of millions of people who consider it to be an abomination, and that's just dismissed because you just don't agree with those values. And it's like, okay, well, that's not really you taking into account a harm principle. That's just you taking into account the me principle. It's all about me and what I want.
Well, I think maybe actually we're doing the world a service by showing them that there are alternative lifestyles available, and maybe that'll make you even happier than the one that society set you up to believe that you had to have.
Yeah.
And I would argue that Christianity can be very harmful.
Any horrible person on planet Earth can make the same argument. You know, like a drug addict can be like, hey, you know what? All I'm doing is showing future generations and the people around me that, hey, being a drug addict is just an alternative lifestyle, man. And it could even be a better lifestyle than the one you're currently in, bro. Literally anybody could make that argument for any value structure that they want. And so what we do is we take a holistic approach. We look at society as a whole. We go, is this really good for it, or is it really bad for it? And any category you put OnlyFans into, it's basically always bad for it. Very few yields of good. Most people who come out of it are damaged, right? The mental illness rates are over the top. The amount of STDs are over the top. It promotes a lifestyle which is completely solipsistic or self-absorbed, where you become the center of the universe. There's no greater duties to society or to family. It's not a good lifestyle to promote. Never has been. So you think, well, this is an attack on my values or what I believe. It is. But to be fair, right, the very fact that people engage in it is an assault on the values of millions who think like me. So it's like, why is the harm only just one-sided? That's what I've never understood. It's like, it's very
I agree
clear
the harm is dual-sided. And I think that a lot of your values are harmful to society, and that's the beauty of America. We all get to have our opinion, our freedom to follow whatever religion we want to, or no religion at all, and you get to have your values, and I can have mine. And I would also argue that sex workers are very safe because the amount of testing and prevention and conversations that take place over the average hookup in the regular dating world makes it a lot safer.
Can I also
Well,
make a point that
hang on, before you get in, let me respond to both the arguments, then you can jump in. The first one is like, okay, if that's what you value in America, that you can kind of do as thou wilt because right now you're allowed to, then you better value the rest of what America is, which is the value of the vote. And the fact that millions more people begin thinking like me as they get absorbed with degeneracy all around them than like you. And what we do is we vote out things like abortion, and we vote out things like women's rights, and we vote out the things that you find really precious because you insist on promoting the most degenerate shit possible. So if that is the case, then you can't cry over spilt milk when the pendulum swings back and people snatch that away from you. You don't have anybody to blame except American values at that point. And then over to kind of the second call argument here is like, yeah, you can say that the values and structures that I have you don't like, or you think that they're harmful because, after all, you're basically just giving a graduated sexual education course to anybody who wants to jump in on it. But I can point to a society where abstinence was the order of the day not very long ago, and almost every woman got married when they were a virgin, and there was no STD rates, and divorce was very, very, very low. So thank you for improving that society. Thank you for improving it. Look around. Isn't it way better? It's way better, isn't it? Said nobody anywhere ever.
Better for us. I mean, back then you had wives that were on Quaaludes,
well, no, your statistics,
and they were
like the statistics you're saying, like you're not actually. Like first of all, this is a different one, but like sex work, there's girls who give $5 sex on the street. Okay, yeah, I bet that the STD rate is higher with that. There's girls who do tit pics on OnlyFans. There's no correlation. Sex work is so broad, and so you saying like the STD rate is higher with girls who do OnlyFans. We all get tested. We all get tested. We don't shoot with anyone who doesn't get tested.
Would you like for me to read off the stats of how much higher it is with people who engage in any type of sexuality on camera, be it OnlyFans, with BG or non-BG content, or with just regular prostitution, or with just regular porn? It is significantly higher than the society.
Then it was then how long ago? Then it was how long ago before there was all this database to put into statistics?
What do you mean? Well, we've been keeping track of things like STDs for a long, long time.
Of course.
We know
I'm not saying that we haven't.
Wait, hang on. We know what these rates were pre-legalization of what we would consider degeneracy, or when they began to rule that porn was protected under the First Amendment. So this very idea that you have that we just don't know is absurd. We do know. We do know. We know exactly how low they were, and they were a lot lower. There's no doubt about it.
Well, can't you just say that would just be the general promiscuity of society? Because I doubt that when somebody goes to a testing clinic and they say, "Oh, you have this," they're like, "Oh, I'm an OnlyFans creator." Like, they don't ask you that.
Yeah, no. Actually, they do ask you that. There's especially
certain,
if you go into free.
Yeah.
Especially,
I mean, there's certain, but there's not.
Hang on. I'm going to tell you, they do indeed ask you that. Yes.
You're like, by the way, boxing her off. Can you give her space?
All you need to do is take X amount of a sampling from an industry and test it to get a really good idea of how prevalent it is in that industry in comparison to the general population.
Hey, but the general population doesn't get tested nearly as much as OnlyFans and sex and porn people.
Stop. Everybody stop. Hold on. Go ahead.
Yeah. Anyway, I'll let you respond. I promise.
Well, the general public doesn't get tested nearly as much as we do, so the numbers are going to be different.
So I'll tell you what. Why don't you go ahead and make your argument, and then when you're done, give me like the high sign or the signal, and then I'll make the argument.
I just did.
Okay, we'll do it again so I can hear it this time. Go ahead.
this isn't really about the OnlyFans. This is just kind of something that.
Wait, hang on. Can before you jump in, can I just finish with her? I'm almost done. We're almost done, I think.
Of course.
Can you just repeat what you just said so that I understand what you just said?
The general population doesn't get tested nearly as much as people in the industry do. Before I got into the industry, I didn't get tested at all, and same with all my friends who aren't in it. And that is just a fact. But like, so yeah, I mean, numbers might show higher because we're the ones getting tested.
Yeah, that would be called a sampling bias. And so inside of a study, you take a sampling bias and you do what's called a compensation for a sampling bias. That's literally it's called a control. That's how you do a controlled study. So if you have a sampling bias where one particular demographic of a population is tested more heavily than another, you would create an offset for the purpose of that study. That's literally how that's done. So that what you're talking about there is easily accounted for.
Okay.
I actually have some thoughts on the whole STD thing. So I think it was your position. You said that the STD rates are lower among sex workers. What's your position?
I didn't state that there were any, I wasn't quoting any statistics. I just said that I feel that it can be safer because people are more conscientious about testing and using protection and having those conversations that many people would think is uncomfortable in the heat of the moment. You got to talk about all that stuff before you start filming.
Yeah, so a couple things, and then I'll know what your position is. Your position that the STD rate is lower among...
No, I literally actually don't know the rates. I'm just saying that, like, I don't know. I know that before I got in the industry versus now, I get tested.
Well, so here's kind of the, I guess, the line of the conversation.
Just as of 2011, just to tell you, the studies found that gonorrhea rates alone were 64 times higher than the general population and 18 times higher than Los Angeles County, which is considered one of the most promiscuous in the world, for residents 18 to 29. So 18 times higher than the most promiscuous county they could find, and 64 times higher than the general population. So yeah, I would say they're higher. They're a lot higher.
Yeah, but that statistic is 2011. That was 14 years ago.
Yeah. But do you want to see what it's like in modern times? Even it's not any better.
Yes,
I mean, I would like to know, just education for myself.
Do you have a study from 2023?
I have no problem saying I'm wrong.
Well, it's not going to be from 2023 likely, but probably 2021, 2022. You wouldn't see a huge fluctuation in a couple of years.
Usually, like when I look up things, like the latest one will be 2023, 2024. I'm not disagreeing with that either. May I speak on
the other thing? No, not yet.
Not the
STD
of STDs.
Yeah, hold on just a sec. So I guess the confusion here is that I believe Andrew cited, one of the, I guess, downfalls of the sex work industry is the higher incidence rate of STDs. Both of you kind of argued that, this really isn't the case, although it is. There's studies to back this up. And then further, I mean, you guys mentioned testing. You guys are both doing OnlyFans. Do you shoot in the traditional porn industry, correct?
No.
You don't?
No.
You've never?
I don't traditional porn industry. I don't shoot mainstream porn.
Mainstream porn.
I don't shoot mainstream porn, no.
You only do OnlyFans?
I only do OnlyFans.
Same with me.
I mean, we do a bit of research on the panelists beforehand.
You can look it up. I've never done any mainstream porn. I don't know who you were seeing, but it wasn't me, I promise.
Okay, but you've done collaborations with other people and it's been distributed on their platforms?
Only on OnlyFans.
On your OnlyFans or other people's?
My OnlyFans and other people's OnlyFans, but never mainstream porn. You can't find any of my videos on like Pornhub.
Okay. But you do shoot scenes with men, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And perhaps you guys can inform me on this. Is there OnlyFans does not compel you to get tested, correct?
No, but we are just...
But you guys do it.
We just do it, of course. I wouldn't shoot with anybody who doesn't.
Have you guys ever not done testing before shooting?
I've never not in my life.
And we also use protection in addition to testing.
Really?
Yes.
I don't, but...
I mean, a lot of...
But if somebody shows me a clean test within X amount of days and I show them a clean test in X amount of days, we're good to shoot.
And so these tests, though, they're not full panel tests.
They're full panel tests.
No, they're not. Do they test for herpes and HPV?
Yes, they do.
No, they don't.
Yes, they do.
No, they don't. They don't test for herpes typically.
The ones that I do test for it.
Really?
Yeah.
You have to ask for it, but they can and do.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, my understanding, when we've had plenty of OnlyFans girls and people in the traditional porn industry, they typically are not testing for herpes. Even in the general population, if you go to like a doctor and you ask for an STD test, they're not testing you for herpes. Like, you need to specifically ask for this. It's a bit more complicated of a thing to do. So
Totally is, and we still
if
do
you
it.
want, next time you get up, like, you can show me your most recent STD test. I'd be curious to see if it includes herpes. But
Totally do it.
sure, it could be the case. You got a full panel STD test. My understanding, though, we've had a lot of people in the traditional porn industry, and this carries on into the OnlyFans industry because there's a bit of crossover there. Herpes is pretty prevalent in the traditional porn industry. In fact, they don't really test for it.
Herpes is prevalent in the entire world. It's 5%, or like, what is it? 1 in 5 people have herpes. And it actually only tests positive, like, not only, but like, it's very rare that it tests positive if you don't have an active outbreak.
Do you test positive for herpes?
Never tested positive for herpes.
Oh, okay.
I've never had an outbreak also, so.
Well, there's a difference.
So, I mean, doesn't that just mean you may have it, but you don't know?
That's how it's like with all of us.
Yeah,
But
so there's,
also-
hold on. There's,
Yeah, sure,
so,
but I mean, there'd be a risk assessment difference.
But also, you can only really contract herpes if somebody's having a breakout.
that's,
Well, it's
Not
very,
really
it's
true.
and
very
they can also take
unlikely not to.
antivirals.
yeah,
as
so,
well.
I mean, there's HSV1, there's HSV2, there's like oral herpes, genital herpes, this sort of thing. But people can be like pre-symptomatic. So there might not even be like a ongoing outbreak, but it's the beginning of one, and it's like at a very small micro level, and you can still contract it. Also, condoms don't really
I
help when
mean,
it
but
comes to
this is
herpes.
also like with anyone you have sex with, to be
Sure.
honest. And so, yes, like, but I like.
Sex workers have a higher partner count, though, than the general public.
I've had lower partner count since I've been in sex work, but yes, I know most sex workers might, but yeah. I don't know. I'm very careful now. I don't have sex with a random person if they don't show me a full panel test. So
Sure.
Yeah, I
that's fine.
understand that due to the nature of that industry, many people would want to take additional precautions. Like, I get it. I understand. It's like any job, right? If you were a welder, you would definitely want to wear welding gloves and a mask and this type of thing, because this was like an occupational hazard. But here's the thing. Even if you wear welding gloves and a welding mask and you're a welder, you still have a higher chance of getting a welding burn than somebody who doesn't weld. And that's the whole point,
And
right?
that's what I agree. I
hang
agree.
on. So the whole point here is just to say that even if it were the case, let's just grant it for the sake of argument, that sex workers had less STDs than the general population, which is not true, but let's just assume for a second it was. I have a surefire 100% way that you can avoid STDs. Can you think of what it could be?
don't have sex.
Yeah, it's pretty simple, right?
Yeah, but we're all gonna
It's
have
complete
sex. So.
inarguable logic, isn't it?
Going over to you, you had maybe something on the STD thing and then something unrelated. Go ahead.
It was like a stupid thought.
Say it.
Well, I guess when he mentioned the gonorrhea and everything, I actually like agree that that in hookup culture, that like I think it could be encouraged to also like not give I don't want to say the word head. Am I allowed to say that?
Yeah, you can say that.
I think it should be encouraged not to like, immediately give head the first time that you see someone, just because, you, again, like it could be gonorrhea, it could be, a multitude of things. And usually people don't really care about that because it's just head and then they'll use a condom after when they're doing it. But I just think that in both ways, sometimes it could be avoided. I know maybe it's less fun, but
What was your other thing?
Oh, about divorce?
I think you had something else you wanted to jump in on.
That was it about that one, and then just like divorce. I was just gonna say something. I was gonna ask him a question.
Sometimes too, like these combos can get kind of heated, or this type of thing. It's perfectly okay for you to jump in with your thoughts and things like that. We don't want you to feel discouraged from doing that.
You literally told her to stop.
Yeah, until we were done with our section.
May I?
And now you're telling her to jump in.
May I ask about?
No, I was telling her to jump in with her thoughts. Now that the conversation we were just having was done.
Go ahead.
Just about divorce. I understand from your point of view that divorce rates have gone up higher and that sort of thing. When divorce rates were lower, do you think that domestic? Am I allowed to? just like
DV?
Domestic, that's fine. That's
domestic
fine.
stuff was less talked about, but still occurring, and that it would have been better. I mean, not that a high divorce rate is good, but I'm saying that if you need to get out of it, and you're not.
So before I have Andrew answer this question, what do you think were the rates of domestic violence in years past? Like, do you think it was like orders of magnitude?
I'm not educated on that.
Okay.
So I'm not going to say something I don't know of, but I'm just.
But the implication here is that, like, well, back in the day, like domestic violence, the rates of domestic violence were
getting
like
divorced was kind of looked down upon in some families and some religions, which I understand. But if now it's kind of more of a common thing that to hear about divorce.
How about this? Instead of that, of the divorce rate that currently exists, what percentage would be attributed to domestic violence?
I'm not sure.
What do you think?
In just our country?
Yeah, currently.
Currently?
Sure. Yeah.
I don't.
You don't need to be precise. Like it's 13.73.
Because I haven't looked this up.
You could say, I think it's less than 5. I think it's less than 10%.
So divorces due to domestic violence?
Yeah.
My very uneducated guess might be 30%, 35%.
35%. So would this also apply to relationships too? The domestic violence rate in all relationships is 35%.
I was saying marriage. No.
Just marriage.
Just a guess.
I would assume that the rates have actually gone down significantly, considering that there would be penalization for doing things.
Right.
It is a federal offense, and I believe so, a battery. Maybe not federal, but a battery is still, you actually can't get certain jobs with background checks if you have like offended people in such manners.
I mean, battery has, and Andrew, perhaps you can jump in on this. Battery has always been a crime.
Regardless of it being a crime or not, it still doesn't inhibit your ability to get a job. If you have a serious background check, maybe you have, a serious job, and they kind of look that up, like that will inhibit you getting a job. And I think more recently, especially with like current movements, I would definitely assume that the abuse rate, it's not completely down, but I would assume that it's significantly decreased with the amount of awareness. Ever since the 1970s, if I'm not mistaken, divorce has become a little bit more mainstream. Kind of after the whole, 1950s nuclear family, and then the 1970s with kind of like the sexual revolution bleeding into the 80s, and now
Well, it's because of no-fault divorce.
Pardon me?
It's because of no-fault divorce. So you used to have to be able to, you used to have to show cause for why you wanted to get a divorce. Now you don't have to do that. It's no fault, so you don't have to show any cause. You can just get a divorce for whatever reason you want.
Yeah, but there also was a law back in the day where you couldn't beat your wife with a stick bigger than your thumb. So I didn't think they really gave much of a crap about women being beat in their marriages.
Oh yeah, where was that law?
I mean, I've heard about it.
Well then that makes it true.
I don't. I mean, you have the computer. I don't. You can look it up.
It's always been foundationally considered criminal to abuse or beat your wife inside of the United States. I will grant that. That due to the modern Duluth model of DV, that a lot of people get arrested when they probably shouldn't for things that already were considered unlawful, such as battery, assault, things like that. Those already were illegal before any DV laws ever were put in place. So, I mean, I don't even know why we have them. They don't even make sense. They already were crimes. So it's never made much sense. It's just like an additional punishment for some reason added to this, even though these were already criminal activities.
I don't know what the actual statistics are on any of this either, but even if you are going to pull up something that says it's like more common now or whatever, I would argue that that's just because it went unreported a lot more before. A lot of women were stuck in marriages, had no other choice, had no financial resources, they were fully dependent on their husbands, and they just took it because they had no other option.
Well, I mean, that's awful convenient, but I could just make the argument the other direction, saying the exact same thing. If we just go off of, well, I think it was more common, it was just unreported. Right? It's like that's an unfalsifiable model. You can just say that about literally anything that you want to. Oh yeah, there was just as many, let's say, LGBTQ people in 1915 as there is now. It just wasn't reported. It's like that's an unfalsifiable position. Just saying, well, I think so, but it was unreported, and that's why. That's not even a tenable position because it's an unfalsifiable one. How could I prove that to be incorrect?
Just because you can't prove it to be
guess.
correct or incorrect doesn't mean it could be possibly wrong. It's just food for thought to realize that studies can be very misleading.
Yeah, I know, but with whenever you search something like that, the burden or evidence of proof would fall to you, right? To either logically demonstrate it or demonstrate it with some type of factual data. In this case, you can't do that with factual data, and I understand that.
I also don't have access to the internet like you do.
Yeah, I know. I understand why you can't do that. But you can at least use a logical demonstration. In this particular case, it's not a logical demonstration to say, well, I just think that they were unreported, therefore that's true. That doesn't make any sense, right?
I said it's possible. I didn't say that it was definite. I'm just throwing it out there that things aren't always what they seem at surface value.
Maybe it could be possible,
Yeah, I agree. I
yes,
would just
but
say,
also
no,
you're
they're all
saying from
reported,
a logical statistic standpoint, you're saying that it's just not something that can be seen from your viewpoint. So that's why it would be, in your case, irrelevant, because you're looking more at statistics and logic and evidence that's right in front of you, rather than an anecdotal statement.
Well, no, I would just, I guess, just to simplify it, if somebody made a claim to you and then said to you, okay, well, I just think that, let me just do this with space aliens real quick, okay? I believe that way more people are anally probed by aliens than you think. It's just that the anal probing goes unreported.
That's literally.
Does that sound reasonable? Right? It's
No,
just
that doesn't sound reasonable, and neither does your
anal probes than
argument.
you think, but most of the anal probing goes unreported.
Just
So
wait,
much.
the government's gonna come out again like the aliens in the ocean.
You're
They've been
next.
probing your butt this whole time.